SKT in any series. There's only been a couple of 2-0s over the last 2 years between these two squads, regardless of who the nameplates say are on the team. So this certainly could be Afreeca evening out this best of 3.
But SKT controlled Afreeca well in game number 1, and while I don't think their draft 1-to-1 kind of counters it like it did in game number 1, if I'm able to call Draven into Yasuo, SKT would also have been saying similar things, so...
2. Aiming going skinless on the Draven as we move out onto the Rift for game number 2. This is the big one. This is the time where Afreeca can theoretically turn their fortunes around after a game 1 that had some fumbles, to say the least, throughout the mid to late game.
Isn't that Gladiator Draven?
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I think it's definitely Gladiator Draven. On that side,
I've just seen too much of the Cyborg Draven.
Ah, yes.
So maybe I think that every other skin, apart from the one where he's the announcer Draven, then I just assume that it's just the normal skin.
Well, he's not wearing a lot of clothes.
That's true.
It is very warm in Korea, so I think he's keeping
now I'm
the
trying to
weather
work
report
out
up.
what the original Draven skin looks like. It's just not often that anyone goes vanilla Draven. I'm just remembering from TFT, and I'm pretty sure that's the Draven that I see in TFT.
I mean, we have Jace going from regular skin to the full metal Jace in TFT, so I don't think learning from TFT is the right way to go.
Oh, man.
Dread is going to start off on Raptors here. He's got a leash from good old Yasuo. This is the world's first Yasuo to give a leash, I believe.
No, well, like, actually, Yasuos love doing this because they like walking the lane with their tornado.
I know.
But you're talking about Yasuos just being keen on anime and not helping their friends.
Hey,
that's what you're
all I know is when I'm playing jungle with a mid lane Yasuo,
you don't
by the time I finish my blue buff, he's given first blood.
Or he's taken your blue buff.
Well,
I need this.
Thankfully, a little bit more tricky for him to do overall.
That's true. That's true.
Speaking of the Yasuo, going to be a range versus melee matchup, so early. Going to be some harassment here. Once again, combat summoners on both. Exhaust from Faker, Exhaust from Yukal. So it could be a very active trading mid lane matchup.
Yep, Yukal trying to play this one as effectively as possible. He has taken the fleet footwork just for some extra sustain in this lane. But now that he's hit level 2, that wind wall is going to start giving him some value. And block a few of the Nico spells that you really want to be worried about, namely the snare.
Another kind of jungle matchup where theoretically Dread can make things happen, but can very often fall into level 6 farm fest between a Sejuani and a Skarner. This is a matchup. To confirm, it is 80 cannon, or on-hit cannon coming through from Khan. It is going to be AP cannon here. Would have been a lot of magic damage if it went that way. Trades here can be very interesting because Kennen is squishy and Ryze does so much damage. And also has more AoE to control the waves. So Ryze versus Kennen, a matchup we've seen many times, but it's not AP versus AP like it once was. The life's still going to be very important for Khan to win the war of attrition. But otherwise, Ryze should have a lot of great options in the matchup.
And I want to talk about, options as we move throughout this game, because you've already mentioned the on-hit cannon. I think it's a fantastic choice, even when we're moving into the late stage, because SKT's 4 and the 4-1 is so incredibly consistent when it comes to clearing waves and keeping the enemy team at bay, with the Glacial Augment coming in from Faker and Teddy being so maneuverable.
Oh, for sure, but the issue is, how does a cannon get strong enough to be able to match both Yasuo with Exhaust and a Ryze in the side lane, right? It's mixed damage, all-in champions on both sides. Baron buff is very, very powerful against Afreeca. If SKT get a Baron, this game's basically done because Ezreal and Nico roll under a turret in the 4, like you mentioned, and the wave clear Yasuo, Draven, Ryze. Ryze gonna get direct nerfed because of the Baron buff.
Yep.
It's tricky. So, at the end of the day, SKT looking to play comfortable once again. They were very happy in the reactive style of game number 1. We're kind of waiting for Afreeca to start lighting fires. They need to be pyromaniacs in this game nice and early.
Yeah, we'll see whether Aiming can cash in those adoration stacks. No blue blades this game, please. They are saying it's cleared. He's going to spot Dread out. Not going to be able to steal away any of these popcorn chickens. Not going to be Dread sharing his dinner here today. as Teddy gets stood aside there and will take a very long-range axe. And no mana now, looking to probably get a cheeky back and look to teleport back into this lane. Aiming already, asserting his dominance in this lane, though, as a couple of these minions should go down. Nope, Teddy is going to cancel the recall.
Got the fast push in to not allow for a cheater recall with teleport in order to get back with mana. So, gonna probably miss some CS as a result from this.
Yeah, store not even open yet, and the Freecs already stealing the plates.
Yep. Well, I mean, Skarner's not coming bot side, hasn't shown any visits to the jungle, so means you're just gonna kind of take what you can get as Ezreal Tom. And guess what? What does Ezreal always win at? It's damage per gold spent. Very cheap to get those two items. So you didn't pick Ezreal Kench to dominate lane, so you just take what you can get.
Yep. You picked it to survive the lane, and that is exactly what any lane wants to do up against the Draven. If you're not giving him passive stacks, then you're having a better time, as Yukal throws out the flow. He's going to stab this cannon creep and possibly look for a recall here as well. Decent farm as he's got the soldier build.
He's already had one recall. He's going to get a second recall in before Faker even gets a single recall. Biscuit's changed on this patch. You now get a Biscuit at 2 minutes, and it's a little bit less mana, a little bit less health, but the activation at 2 minutes does help you for more potential bad early trades, right?
And also meant that I think Faker used it more aggressively rather than defensively. You saw he was behind the caster minions.
What do you think's the most aggressive Biscuit, Atlas?
Most aggressive Biscuit?
Like if someone's getting ready for a fight and needs a bit of like energy and they're having a biscuit, what are they eating?
The terrifyingly melted teddy bear biscuits.
Oh.
Some of those are really frightening.
Not tiny teddies then. Tiny teddies
no,
are
they're always adorable. That's the opposite. That's a
Are they a global thing or an Australian thing?
Tiny teddies? I don't know. Arnott's is an Australian brand, isn't
That's
it?
true.
So possibly an Australian thing. We do get this wrong, though. I mean, we were talking about chomps and Milky Ways.
Biscuits are more regional than most things.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like chips or crisps, whatever you call them, potato chips, those are pretty global, but I feel like biscuits especially very regional. I mean, Anzac biscuits, as we know, are super, super Aussie, but we talk about Monte Carlos, which is not a nickname for Monte Cristo.
Yeah,
that's
not
just a
Monte Cristos.
Type of biscuit.
Weird. See whether he actually decides to go in for a potential steal here. No. Going to. Almost had the opportunity there. Was able to possibly
You could get in, but your cannon's nowhere near. And you look at the enemy team with Yasuo level 7, and that's how you lose the game. So smartly going to be on the defensive ebb, and I think this is an advantage that SKT have over Afreeca because of their experience, in that Afreeca never look good in the S drafts, in the scaling drafts. They're not good at scaling because their first instinct is to do what all solo queue dominant players do, it's fight.
Yeah.
Fight nice and early. So being on the defensive ebb is definitely something that is SKT favor. They choose their moments, they don't choose that one.
Nope, and Yukal didn't choose that moment either, as he got pretty obliterated as cleared, predatoring forward, but Kane's going to get out, no flash required, phase rush, pretty good ability here for the Rise on the top side, and Afreeca going to use this as an opportunity to pick up the Cloud Drake, even more movement speed here for this composition. Effort's going to move up, but he's a little bit too late to stop anything. We'll see whether this cheeky little fake Skarner can get any work done.
Would have been a WTF 2 Skarners moment.
There were 3 Skarners! Did you see the minimap? 3 Skarners. So many Skarners.
That's too many Skarners.
I know. Well, I mean, even more than one is against his law.
That's true.
He'd be like, I miss my kind. There's 6 of you. What are you talking about? Oh, dear. Okay, Freecs losing a turret plate in the mid lane. Understandable. But bottom side already, one of those plates going down, another one on the way as Aiming's going to go back, gets himself his Vampiric Scepter, very important item for the Draven who wants to be taking minion harass the whole time because he wants to be standing on the enemy's caster creeps, smacking down his opponents.
All right, I want to request something from Afreeca. I want to see a 10-minute Rift Herald attempt because Aiming has not used teleport the entire game. He's been holding on to it because, of course, he gets the better recalls. He's got Draven.
Yeah.
Draven Thresh is his duo lane, right? And it's Ignite also on the Thresh for kill pressure. So I need to see Afreeca show me that the next stage of development is smart Rift Herald plan. I think going for a 10-minute Rift Herald with how many different fighting tools and summoner spell advantages they have should suit them just fine. We'll wait and see if they're able to follow that logic.
Well, you can see Dread sneaking into this brush, but wards are being pinged out in the river, not in that top brush. It is eventually going to be discovered. Control ward going in there. But you could imagine that Khan can smell that something's a little bit not right towards the top side. Missing that CS, unfortunately, with the Q. Now Keen, hard shoving. Could be a plate gank as Ucal is going to come over. We're actually looking to go for a dive here. Keen flashing forward, gets himself the root exhaust. Down onto Khan, but gets the stun. Max range, ultimate comes in and first blood once again. Over to Afreeca Freecs as Keen picks it up despite realm warping at the same time. Okay, Hook is just going to straight up miss there, but he still gets the cleanse out of effort. That was a weird little exchange of abilities.
He tried to Captain Jack it, but sadly he was unable to.
Yeah.
Because it never hit.
You probably, he's got the cleanse. He's going to use that button.
And he's young too, he's like 18.
Yeah.
Don't have to proactively cleanse. Now, if that was Joker, of course, but because it's effort, bit of a whoopsies there. A lot of free time for Faker in the mid lane to whack away on, and now picking up 2 turret plates. Don't think he'll get the 3rd. But I love the play from Afreeca, because while it wasn't quite Rift Herald, it was during the teleport advantage. So if Draven had joined, that would have been an outnumbered scenario for SKT.
Yep, now aiming. Standing effort aside there. Gets it on the wrong side, though, as this damage is pretty large. And this is why we're talking about... I love that we get to talk about a Vampiric Scepter power spike. Because Draven definitely has one. He just has so much more staying power in this lane. And play it very differently as soon as that item does come in.
But even though a kill went down, we went back to laning. Teleport is going to come off cooldown. The timing in which you could attack Rift Herald for Afreeca is gone. And in fact, Afreeca are now having to play weak side in the top lane as Keen goes to follow the leader on his minion wave. Afreeca might be getting one more turret plate out of this, but it's a very incremental lead rather than a dominant one.
Oh, actually, a lot of damage. Whirling Death comes in. We do have to devour as Senon's tanking the turret. Gets himself the flay, but Teddy flashes himself out. Afreeca Freecs almost get the 2v2 on the bottom side.
You call it a 2v2. It was a 2v1. If Senon had responded earlier with an Ignite, it would have killed Ezreal.
Yeah.
Through that trade. I think everyone, including us, was surprised as he had a lantern on the ground and he said, no, I'm going in.
I'm going to take your lantern. Just give me a second. Let me kill this Ezreal. Kind of wishes that that lantern wasn't even there as Drake interface check cleared, but not going to really find too much. Winter's Wrath goes a little wide, but we've got a level advantage here for Dread. A different story at 12 minutes is now teleport coming in from the Draven, exactly like you were talking about, and Afreeca going to capitalize on the extra power that aiming has. Bloodthirster in hand.
And this is all aiming. Aiming is the reason they get this Rift Herald, because they don't use the first time, and they may not even have had it exactly, but they create another 5-minute timer. So that's the reason why it was easy. Senon chasing in.
Yeah, booking it in that mid lane. Didn't actually have his Moby Boot stopped for a very long time, as Teddy's going to even things out when it comes to turret plates. Bottom side, Rift Herald going to be utilized. Top side of the map, and Keen going to be on his way to a huge lead. Look at all of these plates that Shelly is going to smash down. Here on the top side, Senon tanking a few of these Mystic shots, as at least Teddy does now have some armor under his belt, as well as his magical footwear. Khan turns up, though, and these turret plates aren't all going to be going down. You can see the amount of respect that Keen has been putting in towards SKT, knowing that he is the target for this squad. It's so hard to attack this Draven lane that if SKT want to find an inroad, it's going to be through the Rise, and he's going to say no. Dread also having that idea, protecting on the top side. Khan still without Flash. This is an opportunity as Dread, Arctic Assault, and the Flash. Realm Warp going to come in as they're looking for the dive. Arctic Assault goes wide, but they may still just have the damage. The Q is going to land. Dread takes a fair bit of damage. Fade away jump shot on the ultimate is going to secure it. A little bit choppy, but otherwise absolutely fine.
This piggy is the law. The cuffs go on. The prison. Ezreal not going to hit there.
Good guy Keen thinking that the Ezreal ult was the old one.
But at the end of the day, imprisoned was a good old cannon. Still, SKT on the bottom side, going to be able to pick up an answering Cloud Drake. The weak side became the strong side for a moment when Sejuani showed top. Yep.
All right, Ucal is going to complete the Static Shiv. Not necessarily the meta build at the moment on the Yasuo. We've seen a lot more of the Phantom Dance at Infinity Edge. This looks like the Static Shiv Steric's Gauge for that style of Lifeline. 3-item spike sort of build.
Bit of bridging power, though, given that it's, of course, a scaling build on the top lane. I wonder if Rise will go a super late Rod of Ages. Could still consider that. as an option here. If you remember, the last time Rise was meta, before the rework, it was dropping the Rod of Ages, but a lot of people have been bringing it back with how squishy Rise is with the removal of all of his passive shields like before.
Yeah, it's like accept the squishiness, build Rod of Ages, and just do a hell of a lot of damage.
Yeah.
And we saw what Noguri was able to do, in fact, winning a game by himself in that one.
The QSS is going to be prompted by Scar, so you understand what's happened so far. But there could be a lot of fun ways to bridge. BT Draven, often the strongest person in the early game. Shiv, more of an early to mid-game spike. And then 32-minute Rise build could actually be. From there, wait and see what Afreeca decide. Gold-wise, at the top lane, 2,000 gold lead against a on-hit Kennen, who, as we know, can fall way behind finish items and BK in the 1v1. But if you keep the tempo up, if Kennen's being forced to react to things, then you're right, Atlas. Then he might not have a role. So while Summit came from 0-3 down to turn it around, no guarantees. It's 1v2.
We've seen this one. It can be real dangerous, but Keen is going to use the QSS and the flash, gets himself out of there as Yukal says, oh, thanks for the intel, my friend. I'm going to take half the health bar of this outer turret mid lane, and the cannon creep is going to go amiss. I believe Faker did manage to pick up at least the experience for that one.
Oh, it's such an awkward timing for Khan as FX potentially going to walk up here.
Yep, face checks Dread, who will take a Winter's Wrath. Senin moves on over, but a little bit too late there as Dread not wanting to go too far into enemy territory.
Trying to do a bit of everything, but if you have to face Yasuo, you're not feeling very good about the magic resist quotient here, so Khan desperately far behind, an emergency half-Z's build between two items. Afreeca gonna mobilize all their power, move it up. So I love the fact that Afreeca addressed their biggest problem in game number 1, where their 2v2 losing lane meant Kiana couldn't do her job, and a lot of people weren't able to actually use their kits in order to get much. The moment the Draven came in, have a much more straightforward role, and it's Thresh out of lane with one of the strongest dueling 80 carries. So suddenly, everyone on SKT is deathly afraid of being hit by a hook from Senin.
Yep. 437 stacks of adoration here for aiming, as well as we check in on the Draven meter. Couldn't quite build his QSS as he went home. In fact, that back timing feels awful. Only an old magic mantle picked up there from aiming alongside a control ward, but they had just taken down the turret and were looking for a reset as aiming moves into the mid lane and should be able to pretty comfortably defend here. A little bit dangerous for Teddy to be standing up. I feel like you need flash and arcane shift and then you're almost safe in this lane, just because aiming's so strong. But should be able to at least make that distance count.
There's a lot of power on the side of Afreeca. The Nico so far being a bit of a passenger this game. Can do a lot of creative things. Faker walks up.
Yeah. But at least they are still going to have priority as far as the push is concerned, and their map control is still there on SKT's side. Of course, SKT looking for more of a 4-1 style. Afreeca suiting the 1-3-1 pretty well if you can put Yukal on a Baron side of the map. And we've got those 2 QSSs done, almost 3 here for Afreeca to make sure that Cleared isn't that dangerous, impaling powerhouse that he could otherwise be.
From an Afreeca perspective, what you really need, and this is relevant right now with Infernal spawning in a minute, but just for the rest of the game, is that wherever Yasuo is in the 1-3-1, in this case it's bot lane, it might be top lane when Baron is the objective, you need river control, because then Yasuo can shift down a wave, walk into the river, and you're like, wait, 1600 range on the last breath, is he responding to a mid lane game?
Yeah.
But if you don't have the river control, you don't have that same threat of Yasuo actually being able to group. So, but now at least, with Infernal, it's very straightforward. Put down a line of control wards, control that pit, Keen.
Yep, Realm Warp is going to be utilized.
He knew his ranges. That was half a Teemo away from looking awkwardly when your Realm Warp is expired.
Yeah, pixel perfect there as Keen, liking this Pirate a little bit more than the previous one. Taking the Pirate Rise after the GP.
I guess Pirate Quinn?
Misfortune.
Quinn is obviously a top laner.
Yep, Malphite.
What if he stayed on brand as Pirates all 3 games? That'd be pretty epic.
Oh, that'd be sick.
We'll wait and see.
Who's the other one? Graves top? Quinn. That was a thing for a while. Yeah, I guess Quinn.
Quinn has the, I don't know what it's called, but it looks like a Nose Water skin.
Yep.
Here is Yukal, smashing down the Infernal that they synergize with very on the nose on 3 of their members, so happy to pick that one up. Waiting to get the confirmation. Will Keen go something like a Morellonomicon? Will he go for that late Rod of Ages? With how strong his side laners are, I actually don't hate the Rod of Ages and a little bit of slowing down. Remember, the gold efficiency on Rod of Ages has never been higher.
Yeah.
Doesn't necessarily mean it's OP, but it does mean that when you buy it, you're not sitting there with kind of 400 gold worth of unspent stats.
Yeah, exactly. It's actually just fine even straight out of the shop, which is not necessarily the way. Normally you need to wear it in. It's like a pair of nice shoes, you know?
So how do SKT get back into this game? Because they have some tools here, and we mentioned how a Baron for SKT kind of closes the game out in many ways for how strong their sieging is and how much Afreeca will struggle in dealing with that. The problem they've had, though, is now Afreeca has a much easier way to control the map than they did in game number 1. 3 QSSs on Afreeca 2, so they're definitely wanting to be very much walking with swagger. This is like having health insurance and then walking up before you start insulting people in an unsolicited way. They're looking for ways to walk up and stop SKT getting map control because they just don't want to be face-checking, specifically a Skarner or a multi-man Nico.
Well, Clit going to turn up and show Afreeca that is in fact Faker is aiming. Going to take a Lantern, but True Shot Barrage comes in.
USS was used on aiming, so there's someone they could potentially target.
Okay, yeah, in theory. Means that Sennin's going to have to be on the ball when it comes to throwing out these Lanterns. This is a Thresh with a lot higher utility in the later stages than we've seen from a lot of Threshers. I know you like to talk about Threshers being more of that early game powerhouse and not having a lot of jobs, but I think Lantern is going to be super huge for getting people out of the way of these Impales as the late game goes on. Because SKT, you were talking about win conditions. I think that pick potential is huge for this squad. If they can get rid of one member of the Afreeca Freecs, then often their game plan will just fall apart.
But if they lose vision control while Khan is so far behind and getting an item build that can attack anyone in the 1v1, then they really can't do much, right? They push in mid lane, they try to walk up. If they're behind in control wards, and importantly, they have more control wards than the enemy, Afreeca need to find a scenario where they can exhaust SKT's vision when they still have extra control wards in their inventories, because then SKT has no way to play. They can't attack the 1 because Cannon can't win in the 1v1, and if they don't threaten picks, they don't do anything. So that's kind of what's happening here, is a lot about reset back timings that SKT traditionally are a lot better than teams like Afreeca Freecs are doing, that actually can paper over this scenario, because until kind of 3 items is done for Cannon loses the 1v1, and they're a pick comp that needs to walk over control wards to pick the enemy. They need to actually be threatening something to get Afreeca to face check, and QSSs are there. So right now SKT doesn't actually control their destiny very much, and theoretically Afreeca Freecs could find a way to pounce.
Well, see whether it is going to be via the Rise lane. He's got an
Holy,
Oblivion
that's a lot
on.
of QSSs.
Yeah, okay, the Morellonomicon power spike is in here for Keen. I actually really would have loved if he had have just kept the Oblivion Orb and built a Void Staff, but I mean, how many times has LS asked and how many times have we been disappointed? As that's not going to happen. He's going to complete the item, gets another cool little book. As, yeah, 4 QSSs might be enough.
That's what? 5,200 gold, which does represent...
Yeah, these tax rates have gone up on Summoner's Rift for
but
the Skarner.
You know who's due a tax break, at least in his mind, is aiming on this Draven.
He, yeah, they're getting bluer and bluer, these blades.
Well, he's on the precipice of something, and there isn't any summoner spell heals, so when it comes to healing, there's actually a laughably low amount of healing on the side of SKT, and the slot efficiency argument isn't as relevant when we're nowhere near as many items, so I'm definitely more on the LS school of thought when it comes to this Finnish Nomnomicon, but if you pick one person, you're feeling really good about it. That's what Afreeca wants, especially if Draven can be the one to cash in.
Yep, the 1v1 side lane sucks even more for Cannon now as well, so I can understand that one. Is okay, Shape Splitter flies forward, hits Sannon, almost dead. This is what Ezreal can do in this mid-game.
And now there's someone else who can't walk up to a Skarner. Important to remember the QSS cooldowns.
I love that SKT are keeping on the pressure here as well. This could be outer turret mid being taken down as Predator is popped. Sannon once again has to move even further back. Now aiming, wanting to clear out this minion wave, but that's not necessarily what Draven is known for. Cheeky pot shots being taken.
Important interaction to remember is that because Faker is known for fishing with his disguise passive, people want to auto-attack him to see if it's the real one. That's where Clit can pounce.
Yeah, Shape Splitter coming in. Okay, King gonna take a Lantern, but it's not enough to keep him from going down to 2/3 health.
And 2 QSS is now blown.
Yeah. Faker once again playing off to the side. He is such a chameleon. Clid now moving into the brush. Another Clid makes his way out towards the Draven as now Ucal is being impaled. They're looking for him. He's not actually going to throw it out. Faker being taken down very low. Whirling Death flies in as there's the Pop Blossom, but he's booped out of the way. The Mountain Drake has been started. Effort gets the Devour and Regurgitate over the wall as Senin flashes just the right time. The AoE from this Rise almost taking down Clid. True Shot Barrage just enough. As Senin is going to survive that one.
It was on 70 health. That was a mistake from Clid. QSS is up on Yasuo. He'll never use it. They're rushing straight at Baron. They might lose it here.
Yep, they are just going to dive right on top. They've got the Earth, Wind, and Fire in the Dragons. Two of those really, really good at taking down this Purple Worm. It's taken off the board. Ucal might be the sacrificial lamb, but he's going to flash to try and get himself out of the way. SKT want to kill as many of these Barons as they possibly can. Dread, great sidestep, flashes. He's going to get out of the way there as Keen. He still has his outer turret available, and that's the Lantern Ride that is going to be so important as this game continues to progress.
Really nice call from Afreeca. That's a listen-in we want, as traditionally they haven't been as good at those macro calls, but Keen throws down the Realm Warp. It all falls in. Big punishment on Clid walking up and not respecting the fact that Yasuo was strong enough to wait to see a Skarner ult that he had QSS ready for. They knew the two members who had QSS down, but when you prop Predator, there's no ambiguity about who the real one is. And this overforce here...
Wow, it was such an instant QSS as well. I actually missed it in the play-by-play. I apologize, everyone.
Yeah, didn't even need to QSS this time. Did he, though, as he walks up? In this case, the instant QSS, like you mentioned, means there's no threat onto him. They first get positioning onto the Mountain Drake because they didn't force Skarner ultimate onto the other two members, and then great call with the Realm Warp to delete Baron.
Yeah, and there was no kill in that Dragon fight or that Baron either. This was all about Afreeca just playing around, decent reset timings, understanding they just need to do damage, not necessarily get kills, as Dread has a red buff, but I believe Clid was able to secure that one.
Now someone has to deal with Keen on the side lane with Baron. Baron so important for Afreeca to break down turrets because of their poor siege. Only ranged champions are Thresh and Rise. They walk up here. They're going to get the mid lane outer. Took a Baron to get it. 27 minutes in. Third turret of the game, and all outer turrets down for Afreeca Freecs.
Yep, now Khan finds himself in this 1v1 once again. Keen almost with the Void Staff complete. Once that item's done, I don't think any chance that Khan does anything against this Rise, who's going to be an item ahead with perfect itemization for taking down this little Pikachu in a side lane. Now, a few people here is, okay, we're going aggressive onto the Yasuo, finds himself the last breath onto Effort, but 1 versus 4, I have a feeling that SKT should be able to get this one done, and they do. That's just the inting Yasuos that you guys come to expect from all of your solo queue games. Whirling Death will stop a couple, no, just, oh yes, couple of backs. Just the edge of it there onto the Ezreal.
Kench and Cannon, the only ones here. That's really important. Atlas, good call on that one. They're going to get some turret damage in at minimum.
Well, aiming does way too much damage, so I believe this one is going to get taken down. Adoration stack still there. You can see 775 real blue on these blades as Khan might be the first one. Aiming, looking for it, gets it. Huge cash in for the Draven. Looking to take down the inhibitor here as well, and the Afreeca Freecs. They are such a driving force here in game number 2. Looks like we're going to go to the distance here today.
Not willing to call it yet, but Afreeca in a great spot, and SKT haven't been able to force like they wanted to. Second inhibitor turret breaks down, and SKT, they just found no rhyme or rhythm in game number 1 compared to game number 1 in game number 2, and Afreeca, with their second round red side drop, have been able to find some ways to really command respect as that first cash in, 1,500 plus gold.
Yeah, those blades were getting real blue, and finally, aiming is going to be A-OK. Goes back, completes the Phantom Dancer, I believe, from just a Zeal that he had before. Oh, and just a cheeky Last Whisper on top of that as well. And getting that % armor reduction is actually really, really strong once we're hitting the front line. As we have a look at Ucal getting caught out of position, but this time, it was an Afreeca Freecs ready to respond to their mid laner falling.
Look, he definitely could have played a little bit more respectful on the weak side, but sometimes the ends justify the means. We don't actually see in this replay, but aiming, stopping some backs. And remember, no Baron buff recall from SKT. means the only people here to begin with are Kench and Kennen, and the AD Kennen is not going to provide anything against the Baron buff push, so smart use of resource there from Afreeca. Speaking of resources...
Yeah, Hook lands onto Clit. He can't do anything. Whirling Death is going to equal the end for the Skarner. Another one comes in. Pop Blossom from Faker finds it, but only onto Dread, as now Faker's copping damage from Keen up towards the top side. Oh God, Khan. Nothing he can do. Faker obliterated. Realm Warp delivers the Afreeca Freecs into the open arms of the Tahm Kench, who goes golden to represent how much money he's worth as Sennen takes him down. Teddy gets a kill off the back end, but 1 versus 4, I have a feeling this means game number 3.
Absolutely, game number 2 is over, and the Draven Yasuo will hold the result here.
Flash forward, stand aside, Teddy. Aiming, looking to win this game, and Afreeca even out the series.
It's gone red side.